Hello. Welcome back to my channel. So it's been a little while. It's been a lot of while, actually. But I felt compelled to make this review today. And today we are going to be reviewing the Resident Evil Welcome to Racoon City movie. Now, I felt compelled to make this review because I am a avid Resident Evil fan. Anything Resident Evil related, I will subscribe to. I love the movies, I love the games, even though I'm scared half to death to play them half of the time. I usually will just watch somebody else play them because I once had an incident where I threw a controller because I was scared, and ever since then I didn't play it. That was probably like Resident Evil 5. I have mixed feelings about this movie, and I'm gonna give a list why. But first, I want to start with the cons. We're not gonna do it like that, no. So we're gonna start with the pros, okay? Pro number one, I was so happy to see a lot of the franchise's favorite characters on screen in real time, like live action. I have been waiting for something like this for a while because I know like Resident Evil had like a series of movies starring I forgot her name, but the girl that plays Alice, and it was super cool. It would have like cameos of other characters throughout, but it never really was like it kind of fit the story, but it was like kind of a spin-off of the actual game. So from my understanding, this movie was supposed to be like a live action version of basically of the events of Resident Evil 1 and 2, from my understanding. Now, I went to this movie today, which is Thanksgiving. Also, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I'm gonna try to post this for Thanksgiving, if I could edit fast enough, but if not, happy belated Thanksgiving, happy Black Friday, happy Cyber Monday, all that good stuff. I went to go see Resident Evil Welcome to Racoon City with an open mind. I was not expecting much, to be honest. I was curious to see how they were gonna transfer the actual game to like a live action film, because the games are kind of long. Like, I believe like Resident Evil 2, for each part, if you play as Claire or Leon, I think each part is like 6 hours game time, and that's if you're rushing through it. But if you stop to do extra stuff or get extra stuff, sometimes it takes a little longer figuring out the puzzles and stuff. So part 1, I'm really not familiar with. I didn't get into the series, like the games, until about part 2, which was like, I was super young at the time, so I didn't play part 2 myself. I remember like me being like somewhere between 10 and 11, and I would watch my older brother play it on PlayStation. So that's what really got me into Resident Evil. So Resident Evil 2 has always had a special place in my heart. I just want to start off by saying that. Now, the pros. It was good to see, everything in live action. I was happy that the cast was like a little diverse, because I feel like in the actual game series, there wasn't a lot of diversity. Like, there was like maybe like Ada Wong, she's Asian. Everyone else for the most part were Caucasian in the actual game series. So it was nice to see Jill Valentine. She's clearly Black in the movie. So that was also another pro that I like, that they tried to make it a little more diverse, even though it wasn't that much, but at least I can appreciate that the effort was made. Thirdly, I loved the fact that we got to see Leon and Claire, the dynamic duo, on camera together. I liked the whole prelude, Claire and Chris living in the orphanage. Okay, so for people that haven't seen the movie, I just want to give a disclosure. There are going to be a lot of spoilers in this. I'm going to try to run through this pretty quickly. I just wanted to just get on camera and just talk about the movie and how I felt about it while it's fresh in my mind. I literally just came back from the movies, from seeing it. So I just want to talk about it while it's still fresh on my mind. So firstly, the movie starts off, Claire and Chris are living in this orphanage. There's like this being that's she kind of looks like a zombie, but she's kind of scary. She has like a half face with like a blanket covering the other half of her face, and Claire sees her like as a young child, and she kind of is it's like kind of creepy. She's like looking at Claire, and Claire's sleeping, and Chris is like, oh, you're just losing your mind, blah blah blah. But she gets up, she talks to the creature, and the creature has like a hospital bracelet that says Lisa Taver. So I'm assuming that they were once Lisa Taver, and probably Umbrella got to her and did some type of experiment, and Claire asked her, where do you live? And she writes on the paper below. The series will, like, below, what I interpreted from that was that she came from the Hive, because everyone knows that, you know, the Hive is underneath Racoon City. And they also were in the Racoon City orphanage, so they were in Racoon City. So when she wrote that on the paper, I took it as like, oh, she's from the Hive where they were doing all the experiments and stuff. Okay, cool. So fast forwards, you know, Claire wakes up in the truck with the driver, which, like, if you're familiar with Resident Evil 2, that's kind of what happened. It happened the same way. She was in the truck with the driver, they hit someone, the person got up, became a zombie, guy crashes into the town, and then it leads to pretty much the events of what happens in Resident Evil 2. But this is also where the cons come into play. So basically, they didn't stick to the exact same storyline as the game, which I could understand. Like, this is the live action version, so it's kind of hard to put 20 to 30 hours of gameplay into like a 2-hour movie. I completely understand that. So the differences in the story, though, I feel like for myself personally were a little bit too much for me. Firstly, okay, so in Resident Evil 2, we never even saw Claire's brother. We never met Chris Redfield in Resident Evil 2. I do believe he was in 1 because he was a part of the Alpha team that went to invade the Spencer Mansion. But he was not in Resident Evil 2. So that's kind of like, the story begins with Claire getting into the town. She leaves the car with the guy, that's the truck driver, and she goes to Chris's house. They interact. Clearly, Claire has run away because when they were in the orphanage, they basically were trying to do experiments on her as like the young lady she kept seeing, Lisa Taver, who they had already experimented on. So she saw the results of what could happen if they experimented on you, and I guess she ran away. That's kind of like the synopsis that we get. And so Chris is still there. He works for RPD, and he feels like he's indebted to Dr. Birkin, who we all know eventually turns into one of the guy with the freaking eyeballs in his arm or whatever. So because he saved him or whatever the case is. So from the beginning on, so firstly, that was like the first thing that they changed, clearly, because in Resident Evil 2, when Claire got to Racoon City, we never saw Chris the whole time she was there. So what I feel like they were trying to do was merge the events of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2 so that you could see all of the characters, but also it not be like a super extended short storyline where it's like you're jumping back and forth. So basically, she sees Chris. Chris has to go to the precinct because now they start playing an alarm over the sound system of the town saying that everyone needs to stay inside and be safe, blah blah blah, this and the third. So he goes to the precinct where also Jill Valentine, Wesker, and Leon is at, which is like, it's not really the way it happened in the game. So maybe this is just me being a fan that is super picky. Don't look at my nails. That's being super picky. I didn't like that. I'm sorry. Also, another con, it felt very rushed. Like, the story felt rushed. Everything just felt rushed, and I feel like that's because they were trying to squeeze so much into one movie. What they could have done, and this is just my personal opinion, I feel like they could have just broken it up or even made like a Netflix thing. I get they're trying to like get people to go back to the movies because of the P word, the panorama, but it's like, also, I just feel like we were shortchanged on everything. Now, another con that I didn't like was being that they strayed away from the story so much. A lot of things were like jumbled together. So it's like Claire meeting up with Chris, and then Jill Valentine was there at the precinct. Essentially they started following the events of Resident Evil 1. They sent the Alpha team to the Spencer Mansion to find out what was going on, where they found zombies, of course, because Umbrella is like super terrible. But meanwhile, Claire is at Chris's house, and there's like this little boy that she saw in the window when she was going to Chris's house, and he like somehow gets inside of Chris's house while she's there, and he's under the table, and she's like, and his mother's just outside like writing on the window in blood. So it's like, prior to that, there was like a lady in the diner that Jill Valentine, Wesker, and Leon were in, and her eye just started bleeding. So like when they left, Leon was there at the counter, and he was like, oh, like you should get that checked out. And she was like, oh, it's been happening for a few weeks now, which is like, that whole scene was like super spooky, because that just looked weird. Like her eye was literally bleeding, like she was crying blood. Like it was so weird. But also that alludes to the fact that Umbrella had been poisoning the people of Racoon City for some time through their water system. They strayed too much from the original game, whereas they could have just took the time to just break it up and just do separate parts, because I kind of liked that mysterious aspect of Resident Evil, is the fact that Claire went looking for her brother. We didn't know in the second one what exactly happened to her brother. We knew that he was with everyone at the Spencer Mansion. We knew that the helicopter crashed, but we didn't really know much of what happened after that. So it left like a mysterious aspect, like, ooh, where is Chris? But it's like everyone was all together, so it was like there was no room for that. Chris's house. Oh Lord, I just saw this movie and I kind of forgot a little bit. Then you cut to the police station where Leon is still with the captain, and the captain tries to leave, and he leaves and gets to like a checkpoint, which is like, this has been seen in like previous Resident Evil movies. Clearly, you know, Umbrella's like the Illuminati. They closing down the whole city. They don't want nobody to leave because they don't want nobody to tell that they have been killing people basically for no reason. So they start killing people at the checkpoint, and so the captain, he leaves, goes back to the precinct, is attacked by a zombie dog, which Claire saves him from. And then Leon and Claire meet, because Leon pulls a gun on Claire. He's like, put your gun down. Also, wait. So yeah, that was one of my biggest cons of the movie as well. I feel like they did not do my guy Leon justice. Like in the games, Leon was that guy. Like, you cannot tell me that Leon was not that guy. Leon was giving James Bond 007. Like, he was giving, like, yeah, he was a rookie cop, but he gave what needed to be given at every point in time. And I feel like in the movie, they made Leon very clueless. I'm just gonna, like, they made him make sense. Like, they made him so, like, ditzy, and, like, he just didn't understand what was going on. And it was just, like, he just, like, it was like Claire knew more than him. And it's like, listen, if you know, you know. You know that Leon was on it from jump. Like, he helped save Claire in the beginning, like, so we know that Leon knows what he's doing. And I feel like in the movie, they made him seem very clueless as opposed to the other characters. Also, my biggest gripe with this movie was that there was no Ada. There was no Ada at all. There was no Ada Wong. The whole movie. So basically, all right, so once before the Alpha team leaves to go to the Spencer Mansion, this thing is probably all over the place because I'm trying to remember as much of the movie as I can. I did just go to see it, but I'm trying to remember as much as I can. Before they went to the Spencer Mansion, Wesker goes in a locker to grab some type of device or whatever that was left for him. He gets a message on his beeper to check his locker. He has this is like device in there. Once they get inside the Spencer Mansion, it's telling him to play some song on the piano, but that at that moment, Victor crashes the helicopter into the Spencer Mansion, which almost kills and Jill Valentine. So then, there was no Ada. If you've ever played Resident Evil 2, whether it be the remake or the original, which personally I liked the original better. Yeah, the graphics were crappy, but the story is way better for that time. But Ada was everywhere. Like, Ada was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Ada is one of the most mysterious characters of the Resident Evil franchise. I know for sure she's a fan favorite. There was no Ada. Like, how do you make a movie about Resident Evil 1 and 2 and there's no Ada? Like, Resident Evil 2, Ada was everywhere. Someone would turn a corner and you'll just see Ada running. Like, you don't even know what this woman is up to, but she was there. So there was no Ada the whole time. The only appearance that Ada made was literally in the after credits cutscene where she revives Wesker. So, which I'm like fast forwarding a bit. That's why I said, look, spoiler alert, I'm giving all the spoilers. That happens, they go to the mansion. Meanwhile, Claire, Leon, and the captain is at the precinct now, and basically the zombies are starting to get through because they had closed it because the truck crashed into the precinct. Eventually, while in the Spencer mansion, after the helicopter crashes into the mansion, Jill, Valentine, and Wesker find this hallway, which I'm believing leads to a research facility, which it does. And Wesker's like, he has to work with Umbrella, or like figure out, he has to get the virus because that was the plan all along. And Jill's like, no, like, you're leaving your people behind. People are getting attacked by zombies. Like, it's just a lot happening. He's like, look, I gotta go. So he goes down the hallway. Come to find out, down that hallway is Dr. Birkin, his wife, and Sherry. Now, we all know, if you played Resident Evil 2, you know the sad story of Sherry, the little girl who is immune to the T virus or whatever, and her dad, who turns himself into this big ugly monster with like the big eyeball, and that was like the eyeball of Resident Evil 2, and the mom who eventually dies. Now, they completely changed the story because at this point in the movie, Wesker goes through this path or whatever to the research lab where Birkin is currently working on a live person. This was probably the spookiest part of the movie. Like, the person he had their whole body was open, but they were still alive. Like, their eyes were moving, they were trying to move their hands, and like Wesker walks in and he's like, it's the G cell virus. And Birkin's not trying to give it up because he's saying that that's his life's work. He's not giving it to anyone, which is understandable, but it's also like, people are dying. Like, so, you know, Wesker tries to get it. He shoots Birkin 3 times, shoots the mom in the head. Sherry like runs off, and then Jill stopped him, actually. And Jill was with Chris, who both stopped him from, you know. So Sherry leaves on with them because they can't do anything. But right before they kill Birkin, just like in the game, he injected himself with the virus. So now he's turning into this monster, and they leave. Finds out about the train. I forgot. I'm sorry. I can't. It was just a lot. So basically, you know, it proceeds to where they're going downtown.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Not going downtown, they're going further underground to find the train, which is like in Resident Evil 2, right? But instead of it being like the game, on the train is Jill, Claire, Leon, Sherry, and Chris Redfield. And, you know, at the end, Birkin they fight, they have a standoff with Birkin. Chris has a standoff with Birkin. He tried to low-key throw shots too. He was like, you dumb and your sister smart, blah, 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 talking shit about Chris, and he was not having it. And so like, they thought they killed him, but of course, you know, he just gets back up like 5 more times, and he tries to get them on the train, and then it proceeds for everyone just walking out of Racoon City. End the movie, end credit. It just didn't, I'm not gonna say I didn't like it, because there were parts that I did like I really liked the whole prelude with the orphanage, and Chris and Claire living in the orphanage, and, you know, them doing the experiments. No, I didn't like that they were doing the experiments, but I liked that they gave a little bit of backstory as opposed to how the game actually started, with just Claire coming to Racoon City and just, you know, everything was just a hot mess. I also liked a lot of Leon's dialogue but I just hate that they made him like that. Like, they made him seem so clueless, so like ditzy. I just didn't like it. And it was like they switched the roles. I don't know if this has to do with the fact that it was because of the actor, I don't know, but they just made Leon seem so dumb. Like, at one point there was a guy in the jail cell and he had a gun to Leon. He took Leon's gun and was pointing at him and telling him to take him out. It's like, what is this? Like, this is not Leon Kennedy. There was no Ada. I just wanted to hear Leon say Ada, like in the game.
Ada.
I don't know. Maybe I was expecting too much from this movie, but I would say out of 10, I'll give it like a 6.5. Also, another con that I didn't like was that there wasn't enough action. Like, there was a few fight scenes, but everything seemed so rushed. I guess they were trying to put so much information in one movie that it kind of gave off that effect that it was rushed. So, all in all, out of 10, I'll probably give it like a 6.5, maybe a 7. I really did like the scene where they introduced the liquor. It was kind of, I know I said like on my Instagram story that it was just like the game, but now thinking about it, it wasn't, because Leon and Claire weren't there together. Because, you know, in the Resident Evil 2 game, you didn't have the option to play as both, to play with both together. You either played as, you would do Leon A, B, and then you do Claire A, B, and that was that. So you didn't really have the option to play with them together, but it was kind of similar. Like, he was on the ceiling and, you know, they were backing up and then they showed it and I was like, oh shit. I just wish it was better. Like, I wish I did not have to, like, I felt away so much that I had to get up and make a video. I have not made a YouTube video in like 2 years. So I had to say something about this, because I'm like, wait, I know there's other Resident Evil fans that are gonna go see this, and you should still go see it. You should still see it. It's not a terrible movie. I'm not saying it's terrible, but just as a fan of the franchise and a fan of the actual story, I was not completely satisfied. But they get an A for effort. The casting was decent. I just wish that, I think it was because everything was so rushed, because I feel like they were trying to put so much into one movie that they kind of took away from the lore of the original games. Because a lot of times I was like, what? Like, because this is not how this happened, like, you know? So we didn't really get a lot of the best parts, if that makes sense, because they tried, like, everything was so rushed. And also, there was no Ada. Yes, I'm gonna say it again. There was no Ada. Ada didn't show up until the very end for like 2 seconds. Like, what? How do you not have, like, how can you make a movie about Resident Evil 2 and not have Ada? It doesn't make sense. And I'm tired of trying to figure it out. So, I mean, those are my gripes with it. I mean, all in all, I'll give it like maybe a 7 out of 10. 6.5/7, to be honest, because I just didn't like how they diverted from the original story. I get it, they had to kind of condense it a little bit too to make it more understandable, but it was also like, and what was this thing with Umbrella in the water? That's not even how it happened. The freaking thing broke in the lab, and then that's how everyone got the damn T-virus. So it's, y'all not, no. And then it's like, oh, they were contaminating them for years, and they got people eyeballs bleeding. That's not how it happens. You get bit, you turn into a zombie, you get up, you try to fight, and then that's it. You either get shot or you gonna kill somebody because you a zombie and you gonna eat them. So I don't understand why they tried to like incorporate this. Oh, Umbrella's been, even though Umbrella is terrible, Umbrella just has a history of just being shitty people. Like, they are terrible. Like, and as a conspiracy theorist, I feel like some of the stuff that we want to, I'm not gonna say too much because this is usual. I don't want them to know I know, but I'm just saying. But all in all, you know, if you're a fan of the series, you should go see it. See it for yourself. See how you like it. Maybe I'm just spoiled in that way. But it didn't. As a whole, I mean, I liked certain parts, but I just feel like it could have been better. They could have gave it more. And it's also like, it was so rushed that you couldn't grow with the characters through what happened in Racoon City. There was also that part too. So maybe that's a little bit why I feel away, because you couldn't grow with the characters. Like, you couldn't, I don't know. I tried. I went in with an open mind. I was like, you know, I know it might not be what I expected, but I don't know how I feel about it. I still have mixed feelings about it, because I feel like it was a decent movie, it could have been more action for sure. Like, I needed fight scenes. I needed people running up the walls. I needed, like, the energy that they were giving Mila Jankovic. That's the name of the actress that will play Alice in the other, like, in the whole trilogy of Resident Evil, the movies or whatever. I needed some of that action. Like, I needed somebody running up the wall, sliding through gates, freaking doing backflips over them. Like, I needed all of that. We didn't get any of that. Like, we just get like a little pow pow, a little thing here. And it was like mostly they were trying to tell a story, but it was like also you're not telling the same story. So it's like, if you're not telling the same story, you could have gave it some action. This is just but go see it. I said all of that to just say, go see it. See if you, you know, if you're a fan as well, comment down below. Comment down below your favorite Resident Evil game and movie. And or movie. How about that? Yeah. Your favorite game and or movie. If you're a fan. If you went to see it, like, comment down below how you feel about it, because it just, I don't know. It's just, it could have been it, but it wasn't. There was so much that they could have done. And I feel like this is something that I know that, well, me, myself, I can't speak for other people, but me, myself, as a fan of the franchise, I've been waiting for something like this for a long time. Like, because we had the old Resident Evil movies, but it wasn't true to the games. So I feel like if you were going to make a movie that was super based on the games, like actually based on the game, you should have stuck to the story. Because then that would have made it so much better. Because the people that were like original fans, they would appreciate that more. But it's like, you tried to put too much together. Or they could have did it like a double series, like part 1 about Resident Evil 1 and then part 2 about Resident Evil 2. That would have been dope too. I don't know. They could have, there were so many things they could have done. And Wesker, of course, he came back to life. He always come back. Like, I don't know how many times they got throughout the whole series. Wesker done died like 20 times. I just need y'all to understand that. Wesker has died like 20 times. And one time with a rocket launcher. And he still comes back every time. So it's like, at this point, I don't even know. My hands are up. Capcom, Sony, because I know they had a hand in this too. Y'all dropped the ball on that one. And I was so upset with it. I wasn't upset with it because it wasn't a bad movie, but it just wasn't true to the series that I grew to love. And Resident Evil 2, that was the game that got me into the series. I was really excited to see like what I felt at that time when I was like 10 to 12 on the big screen as an adult now. And they kind of dropped the ball. Like, I don't know. But comment down below. Tell me what y'all think. Also follow me on my socials, which will be linked down below. And guys, have a great, happy Thanksgiving. If you're off, enjoy your time off. Happy holidays. We got the holidays coming up. I'm thinking about doing a little something for Christmas as well. Might do a little giveaway. But otherwise, you guys have a great one. Stay safe. And like, comment, subscribe. We're going to try to get to like 100 subscribers by the end of the year. You think we do it? You can help. Bye-bye.